Hey guys, what's up? It's Kane and Pia and welcome to a very special edition of the podcast. You may notice this is not our normal intro because it is not in fact wine time.
Well, if it was wine time, we'd have a serious problem because it's currently 11:45 a.m. and we are sitting in an empty apartment, literally empty apart from boxes.
Yeah, we are currently surrounded by boxes and we wanted to jump on here and update you guys because we have some pretty exciting news.
So we were actually going to mention this last week on June 1st. But unfortunately, with everything that's been happening in the world, with coronavirus and now with the Black Lives Matter movement, it just seemed like a bad time to launch our super exciting big adventure. But unfortunately, our lease is up. We have to leave the house tomorrow. So we're jumping on now and we're going to talk you through what our plan is now that we are leaving our home.
So we're sitting in our apartment right now with literally just the podcast set up and surrounded by boxes because tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. removal is come and we are putting pretty much everything we own into storage and we're not actually going to another house.
No, it's the scariest thing. We've condensed everything that we need that is essential into packaging that can fit in a car. Mm-hmm. So I've got one suitcase. I think Pia's got like 1.5 suitcases, and then the rest of the car is going to be used for things like the cameras and drone and bits and bobs like that. And we have actually put everything else into storage. Well, that's what's happening tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And then what are we doing, Pia?
And then we are going on a big Aussie adventure.
I think we touched upon this maybe a couple of weeks ago in the podcast. I think I sent people to the link. The website is now up. So if you want to go to www.bigausieadventure.com, it's live and you can check it out now.
Yes. So essentially we are taking the car, the Tesla, which is great because it's zero emissions. And we're going to use that to drive around Australia and check out a bunch of our favorite places that we've already been to, a bunch of places that we've not explored. Because to be quite honest, we always tend to fly overseas and go internationally.
That's right.
And now we're going to use this as an opportunity to actually explore our own beautiful backyard.
We're trying to turn a negative into a positive, and with everything that's happening with the virus at the moment, there are some countries that I genuinely don't believe we're going to get to for 2 or 3 years. I think there are going to be border restrictions for a long time in some countries. I looked at India the other day and Brazil. Their numbers are still skyrocketing up. They haven't even hit their peak yet.
Yeah.
We've been in this for like, 4 or 5 months now, maybe 5 months. And the curve has kind of dropped to where it needs to be. New Zealand has reopened. I believe Fiji is reopening again soon.
And they're coronavirus free.
They are. You're right. And Australia, I believe, is almost coronavirus free. We'll have to see how the protests affected that because I know there's a lot of not social distancing last weekend. But hopefully, if that all goes okay, we should see our restrictions ease here. So the plan is we're going to jump in the car. Tomorrow we're going to go straight to Byron Bay where we're going to shoot our first series of vlogs up there on the Big Aussie Adventure.
Yes.
And then we're going to move our final bits and bobs to our home in Queensland. We have another house in Queensland. I'm not sure if we've mentioned it or even shown it on the vlog, but we do. So that's going to become our primary residence, which allows us to get into Queensland across the border.
Yes.
And then we're going to travel around Queensland until the border restrictions are released, I believe.
Exactly. So essentially right now from Queensland, there's a lot of places we can go. You know, you've got the Sunshine Coast, you've got Noosa, you've got even way further like Cairns, Port Douglas, Whitsundays, all these great destinations. And it's actually, since Kane bought the Tesla, it was sort of a dream of his to use that to try and drive it around Australia and do like a road tripping, backpacking vibe trip. And that's exactly what we're going to do now.
Well, interestingly, when we first got the Tesla, that was the plan, but there weren't enough superchargers. And actually, there still aren't enough superchargers made by Tesla, but there are other companies that have popped up. Like there's another one called ChargeFox, they've put their own network of chargers in for all car companies. So we can piggyback off those and charge the car there. Plus, also because we're going to be taking our time with this trip, this is going to be a really comprehensive kind of review of Kane and Pia's review of Australia sort of thing. We're going to be at Airbnbs and hotels and things like that a lot.
Yes.
So we can charge there.
Yeah, exactly. If we're staying, I would like to stay in a town for a few days to really get the feel of the town, find the best little hot spots and things like that. So obviously while we're in each town, we can plug in at the accommodation we're staying and then be able to move to the next destination.
Yeah.
So we're going to take it slow and easy, but the aim of this is really to find the gems that Australia has. You know, we're going to look for all these really cool eateries, all these really unique experiences, accommodations, destinations, and we're going to document all that in a cool video style series on our YouTube channel. channel.
It's actually going to look quite different to the vlogs. So make sure you keep an eye out for a new playlist on our channel. We're still going to have the diaries. That's still going to be me and Pia doing stuff like
Goofing around.
But the actual travel stuff is going to sit under a new playlist called Kane and Pia's Big Aussie Adventure. And we just thought it was the nice thing to do. Especially Australian tourism has been hit so hard this year.
Yeah.
With the bushfires initially, it seems such a long time ago, but the bushfires devastated our tourism industry here.
Yes.
And you may remember that back in January, we went to try and help with that kind of recovery, and then COVID hit. So it's had a real battle. So what we figured we would do is get rid of the lease on this apartment, which is really, really expensive, and use that money to pay for Airbnbs and restaurants and things like that, and basically just reallocate our finances to allow us to go and explore, give back to the communities like financially, rather than spending rent in one place, spend it across a load of Airbnbs and stuff.
And give a little boost to the tourism industry and local businesses.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a little bit of a nomadic lifestyle for a while. We are giving up an apartment that we like a lot. So this is definitely pushing us out of our comfort zone. But I always like to say that, when you're outside your comfort zone, that's when you grow and that's when you really live. So
I actually think that's true.
Yeah.
I really do.
And I think in the last few months, we've been kind of pretty stationary here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to look back on that and be like, oh, do you remember that time we didn't really leave the house for a long time?
My bum cheeks have carved a shape into this couch.
A seated shape.
Yeah. Obviously, our company, we've been able to run from home, but a large chunk of what we do, and more importantly, a large chunk of what we love is traveling and exploring. And the reason we have Slinky set up the way it is so that we can travel and explore and still run our business. And that's how we fund this.
Yeah.
So for us to be stuck at home, it's kind of like, oh, this is cool. At least our business is still here, but we weren't really enjoying ourselves. So that's the plan.
Australia really is a country that runs on tourism.
Hugely.
In some areas, there's 1 in 3 people are directly or indirectly employed by the tourism industry.
Yeah.
So for that to have taken such a hit, firstly, obviously from the fires, and then now from COVID and the full-on travel restrictions, we're just going to do what we can. And I know that will be a small splash, but it will make a little bit of it.
Well, I think financially, it is a small splash. But, if we can go, and obviously us buying an Airbnb for a weekend isn't going to change the world.
No.
But if that might help a little bit, but if that paired with content that people want to see in Australia, it might give people ideas.
Yes.
So, oh, you know what, maybe I'll go drive an hour and a half out of Sydney and go and explore that place or whatever. If you do have any places, if your family, your friends, whatever, you've got cafes, restaurants, hotels, Airbnbs, experiences, cool places you think we should go and vlog to share with our audience and hopefully drum up some business through that, please do let us know. Don't send it to the Anchor voicemail. Do send it directly to us via our website, which is bigaussieadventure.com, and that will help us help plan the route for the next few months.
So if you're interested in watching the journey, make sure you check it out on YouTube. It's Kane and Pia on YouTube. And we are also bringing the podcast setup.
I thought you were going to say the dog. We're bringing the dog as well.
We're bringing the dog, yes. Yeah, we're bringing the dog. She's coming on a big adventure with us. I've got her a little dryzer bone. Yes. She's good to go. She's going to be a little explorer.
Yeah, but you were saying we're bringing the podcast setup?
We're going to bring the podcast setup. So there may be some different upload times and things like that, but we're definitely going to keep podcasting because we just love this format. It just feels like such a personal, really real format to interact with you guys.
Well, it's been really hard to podcast consistently over the past few months, just purely because I know there has been some good news, but there's been an overwhelmingly high level of bad news in 2020.
And also the podcast will have a little bit more of a roundup of our travels from that week and the cool things that we experienced and things like that. So it's not going to be just news. It's going to be a little bit more of a personal approach, but it's going to be a really fun little journey and adventure. And
we would most definitely be putting in a lot of podcasts that have conspiracy theories, because I have spent the last 5 months reading up every conspiracy theory that exists on the planet. So that was the one benefit of coronavirus for me. I think we need to wrap it up there.
We gotta get wrapping. We gotta get packing and wrapping.
So guys, quick podcast update, and we'll say goodbye now, and we'll be back with a normal podcast this time next week.
See ya.
Bye.